Shana, this hour on KTN News Desk. A very good afternoon to you once again. Thank you so much for joining me. Dr. James Nyoro, food security expert. The State of the Nation address yesterday, it was more of giving us their scorecard 4 years on. But one thing was missing, food security. This comes at a time when Kenyans are dying of drought, about 1.3 million Kenyans facing starvation. Is it not interesting that we didn't get this from that address?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. First of all, because this was a scorecard and it was not a manifesto. The fact that the issues of drought has been discussed so much, so I'm not totally surprised that the president didn't find it necessary to mention it. I would be surprised if I don't find it in the Jubilee manifesto. I think there were quite a number of issues that were discussed yesterday, and this being that important, I would probably think that because the situation was also not so good, and you're giving your own scorecard. To be honest with you, like I'm saying, I would be worried if it is not in the manifesto. I would not be worried if he didn't mention about it yesterday. Yes, but most of the things we said, we promised you this, we have given you this. Among the promises that they made when they were coming into power was their pet project, the Galana Kulalu irrigation. We expected to hear something towards that scheme. Well, to be honest with you, and I was among the people when I was advising the presidency, I was among the people who came up with the issues of how we could enhance our food security, including through irrigation. I think the issue of Garana Kuraru was overhyped. I think there was too much expectation. And I'll give you an example. As we started to think about Garana Kuraru, the water that flows down through the Garana River was only enough to do 10,000 acres. They have now done about 5,000. Now, for you to do another 100 or 200, you require to do a dam upstream. The dam needed some feasibility study. Once you start building the dam, it will require 2.5 years. So what I'm saying is that I think there was too much hyping of the successes that we are going to sort out our problem, our food security problem, which we have had for 53 years by a stroke of a pen by having Garana Kuraru. In the process, we did realize that it is necessary to decentralize Garana Kuraru because of the time span that is going to take, and start to talk about other irrigation schemes. So those are some of the schemes that are coming in. But all of a sudden, you get a big drought. Now, the big drought, and remember even last year, some places did not have rain. It means less water flowing into the river. So there are some situations that we can look at and blame Jubilee government. But let me tell you, let us blame the governments that have been there for the last 53 years, because we are where we are because we laid an extremely poor foundation on food security, agricultural growth, and transformation. So what are we saying? This was a very over-ambitious project, and delivering it would be hard. It was not over-ambitious. I think people are hyped to think that we'll sort out our problem within 4 years and we'll do a million acres. Practically, it is not possible. The feasibility study did show that we could do 200 by year 2017, 2018, having put up the dam. I think, if you ask me, I blame the communication team on the part of the Jubilee government, because when things are not seen to happen, people are expecting instant coffee. Sorting out an irrigation program for 1 million acres is not instant coffee. It is something that will take time to deliver. So I personally know if you go to Aswan Dam and ask them how long they took to do Aswan Dam and to start irrigate southern part of Egypt, they will tell you it took 15 years. So I think it is part of that hype and the fact that we are in a situation that warrants that those kind of projects would have started 10, 15 years ago. So we had a promise that seems we cannot depend too much on. As you say, it takes a while to implement it. But we still have 1.3 million Kenyans facing starvation. You are an expert in this field. How would you assess the state of food security in this country? By the way, it is not even 1.3. It's now getting to 3 million. I think
even worse.
It's getting worse. Remember, in 2011, when we had the Horn of Africa problem, Kenya, I think 10% of the population we were about 40 million then. 4 million or 4 point something million was affected. Now we are at 3, we are about 45, we are approaching 7%. So the situation is actually very, very, very bad. I have to say honestly, since the drought was declared a national disaster, which is something that we had, we were requesting government to do, since we declared, and the committee that has been coordinating, I think you've seen a bit of progress. I wouldn't say that people have not died because we don't have all the statistics, but at least the impact is being seen on distribution. What we need to do is to sustain it, because from the information I have, the wrong rains are going to delay and they will be short, which means that the problem is actually going to be exacerbated. It's going to be worse. So the situation is not good at all. And what we have always emphasized is the fact that Kenya is in such a weak position, even in a normal year. So it's like adding insults to injuries. We are food insecure even when it is raining. We are spending close to 130 billion shillings importing food. Half of our sugar is coming from outside. 3/4 of our wheat is coming from outside.
And it doesn't mean we can't produce it.
And it doesn't mean that we can't produce it. So there are some things that honestly I feel, with a good political goodwill, with government putting its money where its mouth is, we could have averted the situation that we are in, and droughts will come. But I keep on saying droughts should never always lead to famine or food security. If they did, then Egypt would be having food insecurity every time, or Israel. So what I'm saying is the situation, the political goodwill, the government putting in money into agriculture, and us seeing us driving agriculture the way we've driven SGR, the way we've driven transport, that is what we need to do. And then we come and mitigate against aspects of a bad year like the one we are in.
For years, we've had a cycle of floods, then months later, Kenyans would die of floods, and months later, they're dying of hunger because of lack of rains, lack of water to drink. What is this one thing that we've gotten wrong for over 50 years that leads to this cycle over and over again, year in, year out?
3 things. The first one is, I'll give you an example. When River Nile leaves Lake Victoria, it passes all the way through Sudan, all the way to Egypt. Along the way, they have put dams. So it's not just the River Nile that flows. They've put in dams. So when it is flooding on Nandi Hills and Nzoia, and it enters into Lake Victoria, it enters into River Nile, and those dams hold the water. What we need to do, and what we have not done, is that our rivers, when it rains in Nairobi, in the next five days, that water will be in the Indian Ocean. We need to look at Tana River, we need to look at Athi River, we need to look at Nzoia, we need to dam those rivers. Dam it so that when it is raining, first of all, people in Bunyara are not going to be swept by flood, but the water is being retained in those dams. Then when it comes now to the dry season, you are releasing the water, you are irrigating it. That is something we have not done. We've been caught up by climate change. We haven't put in mechanism for climate smart agriculture. So that is issue number 1. Issue number 2, we have not taken into cognizance the fact that climate change is with us. And we need to build resilience to our communities, including, and we've been saying, rehabilitating our water towers. We need to do Mau. Mau is still political even up to today on its rehabilitation. We need to do Mount Kenya. We need to rehabilitate. We need to put in mechanisms that does harvesting of water. But much more important, let me tell you, the biggest issue is lack of political goodwill. In this country, agriculture has been taken like a social sector. What do I mean by a social sector? When Treasury is allocating money, there are those sectors where they allocate because that money will be spent. Yeah. It's like, health. You don't expect to put money in health and then you get some sharing back. I can tell you worldwide, and even in the countries in Africa that has made a difference, they have considered agriculture to be a productive sector. It's not a social sector. It's a productive sector. What does that mean? Put in more money, put money there, expect money from it. We have to change that philosophy. We have to change the paradigm,
yes.
In terms of allocation of money and the government giving a commitment of what agriculture, we need a master plan, I can tell you that.
You have been, or you are the presidential advisor on food security. Is this advice that you've given?
We gave the advice. We continue to give the advice, by the way. You know, a lot of people thought that you can only become an advisor if you sit in those offices. We are continuing to give that advice. As we talk now, we are looking at the strategy that we incorporate the county governments and the national government. We are talking about this irrigation that we are talking about. It's coming in. What I would want to appeal is we as Kenyans pose at this point when we are doing all the elections that we come up with the Marshall Plan that we are talking about. And we have advised about that. So that the new government coming in September, both the county and the national government, are not going to start with another plan. Because you start with another plan and there's another drought and there's going to be 55 years. We should have that plan now. And people are busy putting all those plans together. And it should be a national plan, like Vision 2030, that can be implemented by any government, that if Jubilee government comes in, it implements that project. If another government comes in, it implements that project.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in. Dr. James Nyoro is a food security expert, and we are getting a lot of ideas from him. I really hope you actually give this idea, because the cycle is tired. It's tiring.
No, it is.
Floods,
It is an
drought,
embarrassing.
tiring,
An embarrassing.
Yes,
It is
yes.
exactly.
Thank you so much for coming in. And of course,